So the only option if we hadn't called 911 would have been to hike back down the North Rim and then out back to South Rim.
That's insane. I'm just glad you're okay.
Yeah, thanks. Me too.
Hey, guess what? Backpacking is way more than just the gear that we take with us out on a trip. I know, shocker, right? Can't believe that we're not going to talk about gear today. We're going to talk about some principles and ideas and essentials around backpacking that I think are important education pieces for us to learn and understand as backpackers that just enhances our experience and definitely creates the opportunity for a successful and awesome trip out in the backcountry. The first essential thing I want to talk about today is the discussion around risk management. I think that understanding risk management when you are planning backpacking trips and when you are actually out on the trail can make a huge, huge difference in that overall experience. When I'm out working as a guide, taking people out on their very first backpacking trip ever, risk management is a huge topic of discussion with those folks that I take out, because making smart decisions in the backcountry can make a huge, huge difference in the experience for yourself, but also for the group and everybody that you are going out with. So I focus a lot when I'm out with students and I'm out guiding to just have the discussion around, hey, what are the risks that we could be experiencing by going out on this particular trip? We look at the weather and determine things based off of that, make gear decisions based off of those risks that could come from cold weather, from being exposed to different elements, those things that truly make a big difference in just how you make decisions so that when you're out there, you don't find yourself in situations that lead to getting hurt, to hypothermia, to other things that you don't want to be experiencing while you're out there. Dude.
Yo, you got a sec?
Yeah. Are you okay? Wow, you can't make that kind of stuff up. Like, literally just got a phone call while filming this video of my good friend Dan Becker, who had an unfortunate series of events take place out while hiking the Grand Canyon. And I'm just glad that A, he's okay, and B, that he had people with him to make sure that he was taken care of and everything is going to work out. It's pretty inevitable that at some point you will probably be a patient or be helping somebody that needs help, that has got an injury, that kind of thing. So make smart decisions in the backcountry, know how to plan and get prepared for risks when you are planning for a backpacking trip. The next thing I'll talk about is making an effective trip plan. This is so, so important. The time that you take ahead of leaving on a trip to plan and have everything ready to go will make or break a trip. Now, gear, as we talked about when we started the video, is seriously only half of the equation. The trip plan that you put together allows for you to use the necessary gear to make that trip possible, successful, and be safe while you are out there. So for me, the main elements that go into planning a trip include choosing a location and then doing the research to understand what that location requires around permits and other regulations, but also like what water sources are like, what the elevation gain and loss is like, when the best time of year is to go and do that particular trip. All of those research things that go into understanding what that location requires. So I like to spend time on YouTube watching other people having been out on that particular trip. I like to read blogs. I will read forums and Facebook groups and things that allow me to get as much information as possible. And then what I love to do is spend time on a mapping software like OnX Backcountry to plan and prepare the route and include waypoints and everything that I need on a map to understand what that route requires. So the thing that I like about OnX Backcountry is I've got the ability to use the desktop version of the mapping software to import GPX files, because I might have come across a blog that has a GPX file downloadable for me to then import into OnX so that I can have all of that route mapped out. But I can also then add waypoints from campsite things, because I'll get on like Google Earth, for example, and I will research the satellite imagery to see what kind of campsite options there might be if it's more of a dispersed, like true backcountry setting and I'm not forced to be into planned or specific campsites that sometimes national parks require you to camp at. So then I will include like waypoints for water sources, for campsites, for any other information that I want to have available to me while I'm out on the trail. So then I'll take that map from OnX and I will use the app on my phone, and by using that in an offline mode, I download the maps ahead of time and I have all of that information at my disposal so that I am navigating correctly. I'm using the tools that are available in OnX for me to see elevation gain and loss. I can use the different map layers to understand the contour lines of the topo map and just the terrain that I'm in, so that I can make better decisions and understand what is ahead of me for my day of hiking based off of the route that's in there in the OnX app. Truly, I am a huge map nerd and I love spending that time researching maps, and I think that that is a really key part of this whole experience, because if you are taking the time to understand your route, the ins and outs, the elevation, the terrain, all of that ahead of time, it allows you to then make better decisions down the road while you are out there as part of your risk management plan. It all works together. It's all connected. It's all part of making sure that you can make a trip successful and in most cases not have any kind of injury or issues. But we truly know that freak things happen and sometimes it's out of our control. But being prepared and having contingency plans as well, things that allow you to be able to help somebody or yourself while you're out there, a satellite device, all of those things play into making effective trip plans so that you are having the best experience possible when you're headed out there into the backcountry. All right, the last thing that I'll talk about is, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, is just understanding first aid and being willing to get some education around first aid so that when situations happen in the backcountry, you are better prepared to handle those. And oftentimes what we're dealing with are really kind of minor things. Maybe you fall down and scrape your knee and you've got some kind of open wound, or you cut yourself with your knife by preparing dinner, cutting cheese, salami, that kind of stuff. That happens like more frequently than probably anything else. Or maybe you get a burn from a fire or your stove or boiling water. Things that are fairly manageable and easy to take care of that don't require a lot of first aid attention and crazy extreme measures. But having a first aid kit that, first of all, you know how to use, and second, is within the realm of your experience in your training. That is so important, because the difference between these two first aid kits is huge. Like, I would never really consider to carry this big, huge first aid kit in a backpack. I'm going to carry something that has relevance to the situations that I will be managing out in the backcountry. So a personal sized first aid kit like this that matches my level of training, that allows me to handle and take care of those things, is what I'm looking for. Now, from an education standpoint, I think it is super important to invest some time into getting some wilderness first aid education, because knowing how to handle situations in the backcountry versus what happens at your house and stuff, will help you be able to manage those situations with a more level head and just handle those things more appropriately. So for me, for example, I have a wilderness first responder certification, but you could take a class like that or a little bit less time commitment and take a wilderness first aid class where you learn the patient assessment system, you learn all of the basic medical needs that are going to be pretty common being in the backcountry: dehydration, heat stroke, heat exhaustion, hypothermia, and those medical conditions that can take place, but then also trauma situations around wound care, burns, scrapes, and other things like maybe a dislocation or stuff that would be considered in the trauma realm. So I think it's super important to invest your time into understanding first aid, getting better first aid education, and then keeping up on that so that when you go out on a trip, you're that much more prepared for conditions and situations that would happen while you're out there. So I want to thank OnX Backcountry for sponsoring the video today. Check out the link down in the video description for you to get a 20% off coupon by using the coupon code exposure20 on a premium 1-year membership with OnX. But all of these things are super important. All of them play into our experience as backpackers and what we want to get out of spending time in the backcountry. So I appreciate you guys watching today. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Hope you have an awesome day. Catch you in the next one. See you later.